What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Monday Night Raw review. Now, I don't have my Monday Night Raw shirt on, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm still wearing red. So, let's get into it. They kicked it off with outro, as they always do, a recap of Fastlane. I meant to do a review for Fastlane. Didn't get around to it, had a busy weekend, but Fastlane, I'll give you a brief summary. Fastlane, for only having 5 matches, because the thing was blocking it, but 5 matches, it was pretty good. It didn't deter. It was good because it actually got to go on. The matches got to cook a little bit. The only one being the Bobby Lashley match being a kind of sort of like it borderline on good and okay, but everything else was good. So like I said, brief summary of that. That's just my thoughts on that. Was a pretty good pay-per-view for the fact that there was only 5 matches, and the appearance of Jay Cargill actually on camera showing up backstage on the pre-show. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I actually thought that was like a good solid 7 out of 10. But that was Fastlane. As they did a recap of that, they kicked off with Seth Rollins. I guess you could say celebration. He came out to celebrate that he retained. He gave a little fake out, like he was talking about like this might be the end of the road for him because of his back, But then he went on to say that he enjoys being the champion and he will defend the championship whenever and however he can and wherever he can, and for as long as he can. So basically, it was just a fake out. But Drew McIntyre, but he said he did want one night to just party and without having somebody to come jump him or demand a championship match right then and there. He said, they just had one night of partying. And then Drew McIntyre's music hit, and they had like a funny little exchange where he was like, "You're not out here to party, are you?" And Drew was like, he said, "You want a World Heavyweight Championship match, don't you?" And he was like, But it all led to Drew challenging Seth Rollins. He let Drew let Seth know that the party is still on. He can still party because unlike everybody else he's faced so far, he doesn't want the championship match right now because he knows that Drew knows that Seth is not at 100%. So he says, "I want that championship match when you're at least as close as possible to 100% as you can. So why not do it at Crown Jewel?" To which Seth Rollins accepted. And I think later on the night, Seth Rollins, later on the night, let me get to that because it ties into what happens next. So Seth tells Drew, he accepts it. Then he tells Drew to stay out here to party with him. But Drew said he got other business to take care of. So Seth says so be it. So Drew leaves, but then out of nowhere, Damian Priest, just after Drew got done telling himself that eventually somebody was going to jump him from behind, here comes, at the end of their little thing, here comes Damian Priest jumping Seth Rollins and then calling for his briefcase, which was Dominic Mysterio coming out with the briefcase. But then Drew, who stood there watching him get jumped by Damian Priest, then intervened when Dominic came out with the bank with the Money in the Bank briefcase. It looked like he wasn't going to, but then he was like, "Nah," and then he headbutted Mysterio and threw the Money in the briefcase back towards the Titantron, and I think he had delivered like a choke slam to Seth. Then Seth got up and then like beat up Damian Priest to send him reeling, and then that was the end of that promo. But what ties on to later is that later on in the show, Drew did get confronted by Seth, who said, "What was all that about? Because you come out acting like this noble guy, but then all of a sudden you let me get jumped from behind, but then you do intervene when Dominic Mysterio in the Money in the Bank briefcase. He wants to know what's going on. Like, what game is he playing? And Drew said, "I'm not playing any games. I've been truthful since all this questioning of me began." He said, "I told you I don't interfere in other people's business anymore." He said, the reason why I interfered, the reason why it looked like I did interfere in your business was because that business is my business. He said, I only interfere in my business now, or stuff that affects me. And he told Seth that Dominic Mysterio coming up with the Money in the Bank not only affected me and our potential match at Saudi, which Seth told Drew that it was official in the same promo, but he said he doesn't want the Bloodline 2.0 happening here on Raw, because he reminded himself that when it happened on SmackDown, Roman Reigns, he said, Roman Reigns has been going on, been champion for 3 years now, and that's because of the numbers game and people stopping people from beating Roman, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen on SmackDown. But Seth still questions him and tells him that Judgment Day nor him could take that title from him. Then we get to the first match of the night, which is Kofi Kingston versus Ivar in a Vikings rules match. A pretty good, solid match. Not as good. I would say it was a pretty okay match, because it wasn't as good as their surprise banger of a match that they had last time they faced each other. But it was still pretty good for the most part, with Ivar getting the victory with a moonsault, somersault off the top ropes onto Kofi Kingston. Though Valhalla and Xavier Woods did play a factor. I think Xavier Woods came out to run off Valhalla, but he would get beat up by Ivar as well on the way to Ivar's victory. And I guess I didn't know that Eric was. I figured it out, but they officially announced that that Eric was basically was injured, and he blames the Kofi Kingston now for their injury. We will get the next match, which is Raquel Rodriguez versus Nia Jax. But there was also a backstage promo with Judgment Day with Damian Priest getting ready to beat up JD McDonough. And basically, they had to, Rhea and Finn had to calm down Damian Priest and tell him that they got a rematch next week for the Tag Team Championships. And that Rhea gave JD his marching orders, telling him that he needs to go prove himself and deal with Drew McIntyre, because once they told Damian Priest about them getting the title shots, he said that just leaves Drew and JD to be dealt with for what happened at Fastlane. And he said that that's why she made JD take care of Drew, because she said Damian Priest has no. It doesn't do nothing for Damian Priest to take care of Drew or to go after Drew, but it does. But she wanted JD to prove himself against Drew McIntyre. So that match got set up for later on that day. But then now to this. This was a pretty good, solid, big, strong woman match. Nothing too impressive. I mean, it did. They had the one spot where Nia got powerbombed by Raquel from the top ropes. I think Nia was going for the Annihilator, but Raquel got up and grabbed her powerbombed her. That was one of the best spots, or the only good spot in that match, other than the typical big woman versus big woman, strong woman match. Raquel will win the match by DQ when Rhea basically came into the ring and attacked Raquel first, basically giving her the victory by DQ. And then she didn't really attack Raquel. She was because she was an outside person. All she did was basically grab Raquel and throw her out the ring, which caused the DQ. And she would proceed to beat up Nia. Then Raquel and her would get into it, but then she would get the best of Raquel. But then Shayna Baszler would come out and beat up Nia, and then she would get into it with Rhea, because Rhea wanted Shayna to leave because this was about her, and she doesn't care about her gripe about Shayna and her beef with Nia. She wanted to take care of Nia, but Shayna did not take Kanye to that, and basically suplex Rhea Ripley. I think it hit her with a knee to the face for the fact that actually her standing tall at the end of all of this. Raquel will actually later on the night request to Adam Pearce that to have her and Shayna fight next week on the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Next we will get the Cody Rhodes versus Jay Uso. Cody Rhodes. This will be Cody Rhodes and Jay Uso promo coming out to celebrate them winning the tag team championships. Michael Cole will be in the ring to interview them, congratulate them. But then he started probing Cody Rhodes about finishing the story. Like, is this a good enough, or will he want to finish the story against, Roman Reigns to get the championship as you came so close, just like your father. It was really like he was attacking / probing Cody Rhodes to see if he really wanted to finish the story, or was this going to be it. But before Cody Rhodes could answer that, I had to look at my notes, make sure I got that right. Before Cody Rhodes answered that, he would get interrupted by Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who basically came out to congratulate them, but said they got mixed feelings and that they wanted to challenge them for those tag team titles because they should be standing there with the titles and not them. Cody Rhodes and Jay Uso were setting up the main event for later on tonight. Ricochet did attack Shinsuke Nakamura backstage. That will lead into this next match, which is a triple threat match to determine the number one contender for Gunther's Intercontinental Championship. Surprisingly, Gunther, this was the first time I haven't seen Gunther on Raw. Like, he wasn't here on Raw tonight. But yeah, he would attack Ricochet on his way out for this entrance because of what happened earlier with Ricochet attacking Shinsuke. But it didn't take it was weird because it didn't take Ricochet out of the match. It just the match just continued like it didn't happen. But yeah, Ricochet and Chad Gable and Bronson Reed put on a good triple threat match. With I was hoping for Chad Gable to win, so that he doesn't lose that momentum that he gained. But in the end, he got beat. They both got beat by Bronson Reed. So this will be an interesting match. It's going to happen next week. So this will be an interesting Intercontinental Championship match against Bronson Reed and Gunther. JD McDonough came out basically for their match. The next match would be Drew McIntyre versus JD McDonough. And it was actually a surprisingly competitive match. I thought it for the most part it was going to be like a squash match between the two, between Drew and JD, but it was actually surprisingly competitive with thanks to Dominic Mysterio. JD would injure Drew's leg and work the leg and was trying to use that to his advantage, to which it worked to the competitiveness for the most part. But then Drew would finally take back over and hit JD with a Claymore to get the victory. Becky Lynch finally gets to take on Tegan Nox for the NXT Women's Championship. And this was one of the best matches of the night, just for the simple fact that even with a loss, it did, because I knew Becky was going to win, but what it surprised me with is that even in her victory, they put Tegan over. So you can see that their goal is to make her at least what I can see for right now, is to make her the female Chad Gable. But also they trying to do it's like they try to also set up this weird tag team between her and Natalya, which I don't think needs to happen. I think they need to keep Tegan focused on singles titles. But I get, it is what it is. But yeah, Tegan Nox and Becky Lynch had a good match. I think they both had backstage promos. Isaiah Lee popped up. That's why I said backstage promos, because Isaiah Lee popped up during Becky Lynch backstage promos about the promo about the match. Basically, she was basically talking about the usual, getting ready to face Tegan Knox. They're going to bring it to her, but then Isaiah Lee basically popped up saying, "What about me?" And that she wants to be the one to challenge her after Tegan, and she said she's not a hard woman to find. So pretty much that sets up at some time in the future a Becky versus Isaiah Lee, which I'm happy that these women are getting screen time. The women and men who normally wouldn't get screen time are not getting screen time. But yeah, this match was pretty good. It did wonders for Tegan. Now she actually put on the competitive match, and I enjoyed it very much with Becky. For the first time in a long time, Becky winning the match via submission with the disarmer. I forgot to mention too, Johnny Gargano and DIY, which Tommaso Ciampa was on the show. It was like an earlier in the day interview with Wade Barrett, and they were talking about the formation of DIY. Then they got attacked by Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. It was funny because when the attack happened, they went back and saw Wade Barrett. He was still sitting in his chair, and he just said, "Gotta go." But yeah, that happened. But then we got our main event, which is the tag team championship match of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, which was the best. This was I forgot to say, Becky Lynch was the second best match in the night, but this was the best, and they put on a banger of a match, and it was good. It was very good. I enjoyed it. It told the story of gaining the respect of Sami and Kevin Owens, because while they like I said earlier in that promo, Sami said that he wanted to come out here and congratulate him. He genuinely meant everything he said, but he had mixed emotions about them being tag team champions, because him and Kevin they feel like they should be the ones standing there with the titles. And this was that match to prove that, to get our respect, to dispel that notion. And they did. They went back and forth. Kevin Owens and I love the spots between Kevin Owens and Jey Uso. They was super kicking each other's heads off and was just putting each other through the ringer. And so did Sami. He put both of them through the ringer. But in the end, it was the surprising teamwork of I'm still surprising at this, of the teamwork of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, and they retained the titles, to which they were going out to face Judgment Day next week, to defend those titles next week in the season premiere against Judgment Day. Yeah, this was a pretty good show. So it was some promos that I didn't touch on because it was here and there. It was a funny, it was a weird promo with Ricochet when afterwards he was looking for Shinsuke sometime after his match. He was looking for Shinsuke, but they made the match for next week, where him and Shinsuke going against each other next week. And Rhea and Drew were just in the background, because Rhea did tell Damian after JD McDonald's lost that she had a plan to deal with Drew, and then you just saw them two randomly backstage doing this promo, just talking. It was just like, and nobody paid attention to it. But this was a pretty good show, pretty good solid Raw after Fastlane. Some new stories, while some old stories got wrapped up, and new stories coming back around. Some stuff getting finished. I'm going to give this episode of Monday Night Raw, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10, because it was better than a 7, but it wasn't an 8, but it wasn't a solid 7, so I gave it a 0.5 extra. But you let me know in the comments down below what you thought. If you enjoyed my review, you know what to do. Hit those buttons, and you hit this button right here for all of my wrestling reviews. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, and hit all these videos.